Good evening, everyone. Well, it's Friday evening, so why don't you join me with a glass of wine and let's talk about what's really happening in the property industry. This is homemade, by the way. It's blackberry, and if you happen to be anywhere near Northampton, please feel free to pop in. I've got about 15 gallons maturing away, but don't tell anybody. So, negative equity is back. Firstly, I would like to thank my good friend Charlie Lamdin for his data that he provides. It helps me and others a lot with our research and saves us a lot of time. We haven't heard the term negative equity for years and years, and many younger people would have never experienced it. And yet, exactly what I have been warning against for 18 months is now sadly happening to tens of thousands of people, mainly young people who had bought a property, often new, with a small deposit in a falling market, not knowing that they are in a falling market, and for whatever reason, if they need to sell now, change of lifestyle, relationship, job, baby, whatever the case may be, they're not only finding that if they sell, they're going to walk away with nothing, and they have lost their hard-earned deposit that may have taken them years to save, but in many instances, they can't even sell for enough to clear the mortgage, meaning that they are trapped. And who's to blame for this? It is the merchants of misinformation, the disciples of deceit, the champions of the term caveat emptor, because that is exactly what they say, to absolve themselves of any guilt or responsibility for the consequences of their lies on an unsuspecting public. Buyer beware. It was down to the buyer to make sure they weren't overpaying. How the hell is the average person supposed to make sure that they're not overpaying when everybody in the industry is lying to them? Agents are overvaluing properties. They're encouraging people to go on the market at unrealistic prices, and then these people are wondering why their properties haven't sold while the market falls away from them. People who could have sold at one price 6 to 9 months ago but didn't accept lower offers because they were misled are suddenly finding now that they can't even achieve the best offer that they were presented with just a few months ago, because since then prices have fallen further and continue to fall. Even though mortgage rates have come down significantly in the last few weeks or months, the majority of those who benefit are those with equity of more than, or rather less than 60% loan to value. Those with 50 to 60% can now get sub 4% deals, but those who have 20 or 25% equity can't get those deals. They're still on 5 or 6% or even more. And as many of you know, in the case of buy-to-let landlords, the combination of higher interest rates also means that they often can't refix their mortgage because they fail other lenders' stress tests, meaning that they are often stuck on their current lender's SVR, standard variable rate, which can be in excess of 9%. Imagine that when you've just come out of a deal for 2 years that was at 1.6 or 1.7%. That is a massive hike in outgoings. And as for the young people, I have been warning against it for 18 months. So many times here on this channel, I have said, if you are a first-time buyer and you are buying with a deposit of less than 10 or 15%, do not buy now, no matter what you are told. But this industry has continued to lie to people and misinform them, and blatantly and with an agenda encourage them to overpay, knowing that they would be in negative equity in a matter of months because their only concern was to sell houses. But what are the indicators of the real state of the market? And when I do refer to negative equity, it's not everywhere. There is no one size fits all in the property market in the country. There are places where property is even rising at the moment or for the moment, and it's yet to reach its peak. There are other places where it's stable, but there are great swathes of the country where behind the scenes property has fallen significantly, leaving many victims in its wake. Now, firstly, tradespeople like builders, bricklayers, plasterers have suddenly found that there's no work. Many tradespeople have found that this has been the slowest start to any year that they can remember, unless they happen to be over 60 and remember the early 80s, of course. There's been major layoffs announced across industries like banking and tech and construction. Thirdly, mortgage arrears are increasing to levels not seen since 2008-2009. GDP growth is flatlining and hurtling towards recession. The Bank of England, by its own admission, has stated that it takes between 9 months to a year for interest rates to filter through to the economy, meaning that interest rate hikes from this time last year through to perhaps March last year are only now beginning to affect the economy, and we had countless more after that. Our economy, not only will the inflation target be met, but there is a good chance that they will overshoot it and we will actually go from inflation to deflation, and our economy will grind to a halt. Hence the reason in my previous few videos I have said that we can't rule out the possibility that we could see interest rates literally fall to the floor again at some point in the near future, because the Chancellor, or the Bank of England rather, will need to do something to resuscitate an economy that they have throttled to death. Next is new build developments being halted due to lack of sales. There are so many developments around the country that have actually ceased working. They have literally packed up, taken their tools away and left the entire development for another day, along with many small to medium-sized developers who have gone bankrupt just in the last few months. There's no greater indication of the slowdown than that. On top of that, it is also the volume of the significant drop in mortgage lending for residential purchases. They are down well over 20%, and that is significant. And as I said, even though mortgage rates are falling, the people who can take advantage of these lower rates are limited, because the banks are keeping those rates to people with equity in excess of 60%. And there's a good reason for that, because the banks are aware that property is still falling in many parts of the country. And last but not least, continued denial from sellers about the real value of their property, which again I place firmly at the door of dishonest agents who intentionally overvalue properties just to win listings, giving sellers unrealistic expectations of the price that their property may achieve for their own benefit. Over the last year, I have had an increasing number of potential sellers walk away because they don't like what I've said, and because another agent has told them that they can go on for much more. And invariably what has happened is they've sat there asking or waiting for an unrealistic offer that never comes. They've missed out on offers that they perhaps should have accepted, taken their property off the market, come back on the market now, and finding that now they can't even achieve the lowest offer that they received just a year ago. In short, I lay the blame for this situation firmly at the door of those who have precipitated this web of deceit, which has been executed en masse on an unsuspecting public. These are not numbers, these are people. People's lives going up in smoke, and it's not their fault, because they have struggled to find the the truth amongst the mistruth precipitated by the web of lies that the entire property industry has been filling the media with over the last year. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.